Hey, how's it going on? My name is Norbert and this card has a child element to it. So in this video, you're going to learn how to change parent elements based on their children. So stick around in order to learn how the CSS has selector works and how you can select parent elements based on their children. So let's get started with the tutorial. Okay, so I have here my Visual Studio Code editor open. I'm just going to create a index.html file. I'm going to start with the boilerplate and then I'm going to include a link to my style.css. Also, the code is down in the description below. So please go ahead and actually copy those files because you will need them in order to insert your HTML and your JavaScript. I'm not going to go over everything that I did there. I'm just going to go over the has selector. So let's add the style.css file, and down in our body, we're going to add our script and .main.js. Now, let's also create those files, as I said, style.css. They are down in the video description. Just go ahead. You will find it on my blog post, actually, and just copy them. And main.js. Now, let's go to the index.html file. And within here, I'm going to create free cards. As you can see here in our finished project, these are actually free cards. They don't contain much. So I'm just going to create our first card. The first card will consist out of a .card class. In the class, we're going to have a .card-body, and that body will contain then a h4 with the title of text of card title 1 and a paragraph tag with just a lorem ipsum 10. So if you type in 10, you're going to get 10 words from lorem ipsum. Also, after the paragraph tag, we're going to have a button with a class of btn and also the class of more. And let's type in here more ... and that's it. So I'm going to copy this 3 more times, actually 2 more times. So copy it 1, 2, and I'm going to delete from the second and the third div the card body classes. So let's also open this up using live server, right click, open with live server, and there we go. We have 3 cards. Now let's also style them a bit. Let's go into our CSS file. I'm going to start with the general select. I'm just going to copy and paste the code in here. Also going to explain everything that it does. Start is the general select. It's going to remove the margins, remove the paddings, add a font size or font family of sans serif. Then I'm going to style the main card class with padding, so far and so on, box shadows, you can see right here. Let's also style our h4s with just a general styling, and let's also style our paragraph tag, again, general styling, and the last thing is to style our buttons. There we go, padding, border radius, color blue, background color blue, a white color, font of bold, and so far. So also cursor pointer and borders none. Okay, so we had our 3 cards. Now let's say I'm just going to select all of the divs, and then we can just change the background color to all of our divs to red. This is going to change all of the divs without having any kind of class to the color of red. Now remember, if we take a look, actually, know what? I'm going to now close up this and drag my CSS to the right so you can also see the HTML. And once again, our very first div, which is contained here, our very first card, has the class of card. Now the next one has the class of card body. And because the card, the very first div, is already styled here using the card class, the style doesn't apply to all of the divs. Okay, so if I would take this out, then it will apply to all of the divs. Okay, so let's just bring it back in here. Now, how about, let's go down here. How about if I want to change the way the divs behave that contain a h4? So for example, I'm going to change the very last h4 to an h3. And now I'm going to go down here to the div and say has an h4, and only those divs will now have a background color of red, as you can see. So remember, you need to select a element because this has function helps you style elements. And if I take has h4s, so this should override my my h4 from above, background color. Now let's change it to green. So let's see what happens. Now only those elements will now change to the background color of green. Okay, remember the divs, the regular divs that didn't have any kind of class or didn't have a specific class to them, have the background color of red. Now I'm going to comment out both of them, and actually let me drag this to the side. Next up, let's say if a paragraph tag for example, has a strong tag with him. Okay, then let's say the background color will turn yellow. Background color and yellow. So let's go to our HTML and let's just add to this not to the last one, let's add to the very first one. Let's pack this lorem into a strong tag. We're going to take this, cut it out, paste it in here. Now, not only that the word lorem is now bolded, also the paragraph tag has now a background color of yellow. Okay, next up, let's do something interesting. I'm also going to comment this one out. Let's say that when I click this button, the card should get a class of active. And only then something should happen. Now, obviously, you could do the card with a class of active, but I'm going to show you a far better way of doing things, because we're actually targeting the parent element by activating a child element. So let's go into the JavaScript file. And again, you can just copy and paste in the code. I'm going to select both cards and buttons. So query selector, all of the cards and all of the buttons. They have the class of more, the buttons. Now I'm going to take all of the buttons and do a for each loop over them. So buttons.forEach. I'm going to take those. I'm going to take a btn and then add to the btn a event listener of onClick to it. And when that onClick event will be executed, I'm also going to pass in the event. So I'm going to watch for the event. And when that event happens, I'm just going to start a copy. I'm going to create a variable where I'm going to store information, the e.target.parent element, because remember, when I'm clicking on this, I can select, if this is the child element, I can select this parent element, which is this card. So now that I have the element, I could now add the class of active to it. So when I click on it, I'm going to add and remove the class of active. Basically, if we inspect this, and I'm going to move my console down here. So let's just inspect let me just drag this down here. So if this card, you can see it doesn't have anything. If I click on it, it's going to have the class of active, so the parent element. Not the card, but the parent element. If I do this to the upper element, which has a body, click it again, then it should disappear and appear. So let's say and also this is going to demonstrate a very important thing. So basically, we're now adding active to these elements. So the very first one, let's just take it out. When I'm going to click on it, and the div will now have the class of active, then let's say the h4 will turn to red. Oops, color red. Okay, so this one has the class of active. If I remove it, excellent. But we're basically telling that if the div contains a h4, then the h4 will turn red. But how about the parent element? This is where the has comes into play. So if this div with a class of active has an h4 in it, then that card will turn red. Okay, so as you can see, the entire text is now turning red because it has an h4 and the div has the class of active. So it's fulfilling two conditions. First of all, the class that I'm targeting has now a class of active. You can see down here, the card has a class of active in it. And we can also change the background color, let's say, to yellow. Let's do a yellow again. Okay, if I remove it, only that div will be removed. Now, let's go even further. Let's say I'm going to add, actually going to comment this out again. Let's say I'm going to add, also going to comment this one out, a child element in here. Normally, when you do something in a card, some sort of information appears. And we're going to add now another element. So we're going to check if an element exists. And I'm just going to create again a element. I'm going to create a small tag now in here. Now, this small tag will have a inner text of this a element child, or this is a child element. And this text will only appear, let's create a condition, if the parent card, basically the parent card, wherever it's added to, contains the class of active, then the small child will be appended. The small child, oh my god, it's not a small child, it is a small element with the name of small, tag element with the name of small, will be appended to the parent element. Now, else that element will be removed, because I'm selecting here the children, which are elements now, and the third one will be that element is going to be removed. Now, don't worry about this. I'm also going to close the JavaScript where we don't need it anymore. Again, it's down in the description below. So if I'm clicking now on this button, we are adding a child element. If I'm clicking on the button again, it's going to remove that child element for each and every card, as you can see. So how about if a div with the class of active, because when I'm clicking on that button, it's adding a class of active, and only that small tag now can be, let's say, color and red. So pretty simple, nothing new to it. I'm adding that element. As soon as that element exists, that element will have the class of red. But how about manipulating the div? So the div that has a small tag now in it will have a background color of blue. It's going to defeat the purpose. Let's say yellow again. Okay, so let's try this right here. Boom. Background color blue. Now I can go even further. How about I'm going to target, remember this does not have the class of active. The active class comes from here. But how about I will target only those that have the class of card dash body. Not all divs have the card dash body. Remember, only this div has the card dash body. The next one doesn't have it. So if I click on the very last card, which is down here, you can always see it doesn't take an effect, but the first card, yes, there was the first card, only on that card it will take an effect. Okay, remember we're selecting the parent element. Let's do another one. Let's say the div with the class of active that has a small element in it. Now change the background color to black and the color of the text will be then white. Okay, so let's try this out. This is working, and the one above is working. How about if I take this out? This is working, and this is working. But but this one is changing to yellow. Why is that? Well, because it has the class of card body attached to it. Now for the last example, let's say that the div with the class of active that has a small tag in there should change the div with the class of card dash body. Let's say we are going to add a background color of purple. Okay, let's hit save and our body, what am I doing here? Don't need this, active. Okay, and there we go. Where was this applied? Well, it was applied to the div with the class of card body here, but with the condition that the div, the parent div, the bigger div, this right here, should have the class of small. Okay, so as soon, not the class, the element of small should be contained in this div. Only then the div with the class of body, card body, will have its background color changed to purple. So I hope you understand the hair pseudo class, and if you liked this video, then please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, then consider doing so. We're posting new videos like this on a regular basis. And also click that notification bell in order to get notified when I post a new video. Also check out all my courses, they're down in the description below, and check out my blog where I post blog posts. Who would have thought? So thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely day. Catch you on the flip side. Bye bye.